What's up, folks? Today we're going to work on a Jeep, but we're going to show you how to get a battery really super cheap for that old Jeep. We're also going to show you some tricks and some stuff to check before we do all of that so you don't run out the door and spend all that money so you have a little bit more. First, let me say, we want to make sure our battery cables aren't loose, eh? Next thing we want to do is we want to wiggle everything. Electrical connectors, grounds, different things that get loose can make you lose connection and make it seem like you have a bad battery when you really don't. Hello, my name is Clay with the Clay Way here in Muskegon, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I believe my job here on YouTube is to inspire and empower people just like you to do things yourself. Keep in mind that if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. Also, remember, there's nothing you can't do, only things you won't do. So in this video, we're going to talk about changing batteries. Can you get electrocuted? How to do it, and some of the things that you can look for just to make sure your battery is bad. I'm not going to cover everything, but that way you're not going out and spending 150 bucks on a battery that you don't need. So the original application for this Jeep needed a $120 battery, and this video is not so much about changing it. Most of us know how to do that stuff. But just in case you don't, I cover a bunch of stuff. It's also about saving money on the battery. Now, this one down here that I got, instead of 120 bucks, I went to Walmart, all apart, and got me a cheap glass battery. And I've been driving it on it for a couple days now, and it's just fine. And it was 55 bucks. Notice I didn't say only, because when you use the word only, you're only selling yourself. I'm going to show you a neat trick on how to keep a loose battery cable tight without replacing the battery cable end. Now, everything inside the vehicle is making noises. We hit the key, it doesn't do anything. Sometimes the lights are lit up, sometimes they're not. Now, what you want to do is you want to turn your key to the on position, raise her bonnet. Oh, not the girl down the street. Your wife might get mad, and you'll probably end up beating your meat. Now, sometimes it's just a loose connection. So what I like to do is I like to have the key in the on direction, and I like start wiggle things. You can... Just kidding. Touch these two, you're not going to get shocked. Yes, even if the battery's new. But I like to make sure that the cables aren't loose. You should not really be able to move that. But let's say that you can move that and it's all the way tightened up because somebody over tightened it. I'm going to show you a fix for that too. So when your battery cable's loose and you tighten it up, down as far as you can, a wood screw is what you need to do. Take that wood screw, screw it into here. Then when you get it tight, it won't move no matter how much might. Then all you need to do is take a pair of wire cutters and cut off the end of that screw. Because the next time you can just go and loosen that up and that'll fall right out. Because if you don't, that could make contact with your hood. And I'm here to tell you that would be absolutely no freaking good. And if you were working on the positive side cable, it could ground it out. All you're trying to do is separate these two metals so this clamps down really easy. Battery cable posts are extremely soft and malleable. That's why we use a wood screw, but a nail will also do. You don't even have to loosen the clamp to do this. Now be careful to not use too long a screw that will go down inside the battery and break it. When you over tighten these clamps, it stretches this, and it's not necessary, and that's why you end up using this screw. Just don't want it to move. Now you've got a nice firm connection, and you don't waste money buying a new battery when you just had a loose connection, because once you change this battery out, more than likely with the extra amperage that the newer battery is going to have, it's going to make it seem like, well, I needed a new battery, and technically you didn't. Batteries are pretty resilient, and they should last a number of years, even the cheap ones like we're putting in this Jeep. Probably money that you unnecessarily spent. Give this a try before you go down and buy a bunch of expensive stuff. Now, when you're disconnecting a battery, not that I personally think it makes any difference, but yahoos on the internet go all mind-numbingly crazy when you don't disconnect the ground first, but to me, I don't see what difference it makes. But installation works in exactly reverse. You connect the positive first. Anyways, this is not a stretched cable, and this one was super tight. We didn't have any problems with this one being loose at all. This one was, so hence the screw. These are 10mm nuts. We're going to take the two 10mm nuts, loosen them up, and pull the battery cables off. Then using an extension down here, there's always a battery keeper or a battery holder on any battery in any application. It's usually down along the side, and it looks similar on almost everything that I can possibly think of. Sometimes they have a strap over the top of them. European or Chinese models, most domestic models are going to have a little keeper down there that holds it into place. Now you can put just about any battery in any heap. We need to know how high and how deep. But basically, if it fits, it ships. Then we'll take that information with us when we go to the store and we look for a battery. Now, a vehicle that has an AGM battery doesn't also have to be an AGM battery. Basically, for a layman's point of view, an AGM battery is a battery that doesn't move on the inside. Most batteries are lead acid batteries, and they're not particular to the type of vehicle. You have a high-end vehicle and you're watching this video for a cheap battery, you've got champagne taste on a beer budget, my friend. Or we can look up the group size. In my situation, it's a group 34, which was what was originally for this Jeep, but I'm going to put a group 35 in it. Now, in your situation, you could look up the group number because batteries are sized by group number, figure out what goes in there, and then go buy one that's similar in shape and size. Sometimes they can be a little bit higher because you have the hood clearance for it. Sometimes they can't.
Now you might say, Clay, what about a European model that has to be programmed?
European model vehicles like Volvo, BMW, Mercedes, and Audi have what's called BEM technology, Battery Energy Management Systems. All that is a code that's inputted into the computer that tells it that the battery was replaced. It doesn't have any circuitry inside it. They will communicate voltage. Voltage will be read by the ECM. Some of them will communicate current. But for the most part, they don't communicate, so you could put any battery in anything and it will work. Car does not have any idea what kind of battery is inside it unless you have to tell it. And realistically, it doesn't matter if it's side post or top post, they make adapters so you can fit both styles in anything. Now, I assume down in the comments, some people are going to say,
What about cold cranking amps, Clay?
And I would say that don't matter to old Clay, because as long as the battery's somewhat near the shape and size, it's going to start that vehicle up, unless there's something else wrong with the vehicle. So with the battery removed, this was held down by a cable tie. So I removed that, which is connected to my negative side. Now my negative side needs to be over here. And yes, these battery cables can touch one another because there's no power. And if you had lights on, that when you tried to remove your battery cables to reset the check engine lights, etc., and they didn't remove, you can actually hold these battery cables together. Look at me, I'm holding them together. I don't know if I need to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. What the hell's wrong with this guy rhyming all the time? Don't connect the two battery cables together by any kind of metal while it's connected to the battery. And what it'll do, it'll drain all the power out of the ECUs. Down inside the ECU, you'll find batteries like these. And because they're very low voltage and barely have any current, it'll drain these batteries down, but it generally won't harm them, and it'll reset all the codes. All you need to do is grab a zip tie or two. 15-20 minutes should do, but you can do it longer too. Now, even though it seems like you're resetting the codes and it's actually fixing your automobile, what it's actually doing is resetting the adaptives, which are the programming that the ECM learns over time on where to set your throttle, etc. So it may start a little bit harder, but then you're going to think it runs a little bit better, but actually it's not really technically running any better. It's just that everything's reset and it needs to relearn all of that bad information that it had from them sensors that were bad, that were turning your check engine light on. Okay, so I need this negative cable to stretch over to this side, and I think the positive cable is going to be just fine. It's going to work in the location it's at, but I need this negative one to not go underneath the battery, so all I got to do is cut some tape away and these wires will separate and it'll be just fine. Then we'll have it over there. Now that thing will move all around and I can put my ground on that side and my positive on this side. Make sure that when you tighten this up, you push it all the way down. You should be able to see the top of the lead near or above the post. Should be very similar to this right here. Now when you tighten it down, you should not be able to move it, not even a little bit. But you don't want to over tighten it because you'll bend these apart and break the connector. And if they do move, you know exactly what to do. So when I do this, I'll wiggle the cable as I tighten up the nut. And it fits perfectly now. So don't over tighten these. Now this just fits down inside there, and these prongs face forward. If you're ever questioning the direction that this goes on, most often it will have grooves to lead you in the right direction. My name's Clay with the Clay Way. Please share my video. Consider subscribing, clicking the notifications. Give me them sweet old thumbs up. And if you've got a question for me, you can hit me up on Clay's AC and Auto Repair on the Facebook Messenger. I try to help everyone that I possibly can. I can't help you with that baby mama drama, but I may be able to help you with some of these whips back here. Remember, don't be the next to them, be the absolute first to you, and if anyone else can do it, I promise you, you can do it too. God bless, folks. Have the absolute best of days.